simulations in his nanocerebrum, where he had spent more time than he had spent in reality for over 30 years, they reached the system's outermost planet, the ice giant Karl. The blue ball was tens of times the size of Harbingen, and its atmosphere of ice crystals moved in endless hurricanes around the equator, which provided the perfect backdrop for the formerly deserted industrial stations in their lower orbits. On optical sensors, they looked like upside-down pylons, with kilometer-long ice scoops on their undersides that tapped into Karl's infinite hydrogen reserves. The stations had used electrolysis reactors to convert it into drinking water for the outer system, and continue to do so to this day. During their few inspections, which they had known about early on thanks to carefully lubricated officials in the right places, the fleet had found small communities of former mining settlers that had been left alone. Only then did real operations resume in a system that was once considered irrelevant and had been written off economically. Supply traffic, mostly by ion tugs that gave off virtually no emissions and were barely detectable to patrol ships in the inner system, had continued operating, feeding their secret shipyards in the Oort cloud. Vast sums had flowed into them each year from their capital networks via disguised spending structures. The results of this gigantic effort had long since taken up station at S1 near the Central Star and just waited for his command. After the destruction of TFS Braxis and TFS Gibraltar by their saboteur, the system had been clear of uninvited eyes and ears. Besides, the Federation certainly had more pressing problems than a ruined core world, especially since its destruction had played into its hands by helping preserve Sol's supremacy. The thought of Jupiter's aristocrats and corrupt politicians who had sold their souls through his network of straw men for even the smallest sums still disgusted him. It was incomprehensible to him that a society, even while immersed in a struggle for survival against despicable aliens who wanted to exterminate humanity, could produce countless individuals who thought only of themselves and their short-term advantage, instead of striving for something greater that transcended their ridiculous little lives. It repulsed him. Another 12 hours and they reached the flagship of the Exile fleet, a heavy frigate of Harbinger design. It was obsolete by current fleet standards, but its officers were familiar with the technology that had been best suited to their limited training and maneuvering experience. Moreover, Theodoric had at some point stopped sticking his fingers into the top-secret research and development of the fleet. Military counterintelligence was extremely resourceful, and he did not feel the advantages of more modern ships were worth the risk of jeopardizing the entire operation. Their development could alert the TIA and lead it to discover what was brewing in the shadows of their beloved Federation. In the cockpit window, the Redemption looked like a cigar with flattened ends, crude and bristling with weaponry. 2 destroyers hung behind her against the twinkling stars, like parasitic fish near a shark. One of the hangar bays opened to swallow the shuttle. Chancellor Theodoric von Borningen tightened his robe of office with the golden cord at his shoulder. "Good flying, Lieutenant," he said to the pilot. "Stand by for my departure. I may need you." The young woman nodded, looking relieved. "Of course, Chancellor." The ramp lowered onto a spacious deck, where his host was waiting with 24 Marines. "Attention!" one of the soldiers shouted. The Marines came to attention, shouldered their rifles, and turned their heads obliquely upward. "Welcome aboard the Redemption," Pargorites greeted him with a flattering smile and a precise salute. Theodoric had never liked the lickspittle very much, but Pargorites was devoted to the cause, and it turned out to be his most valuable spy during the last 2 decades. He had a talent for combining good tactical skills with strategic foresight. At the same time, he was able to exercise the restraint and patience necessary when working toward something. Apart from that, he had the most combat experience in their ranks and knew a lot about politics. "Thank you, Captain. I suppose you'll want to rest from your trip. I've had my quarters prepared for you, and—" Theodoric waved dismissively. "No, we have several things to talk about. Take me to a secure room and keep yourself available for the next few hours. Before I travel any further, there is much to be cleared up." "Of course." Pargorites bowed slightly, his hairless crown gleaming in the hangar's cold light. "Follow me, please, Chancellor." On the way to the shielded briefing room near the bridge, located in the heart of the Redemption, they encountered a crowd of busy crew members. When they recognized who he was, they looked at him, with a mixture of awe and fear, saluted, and dared not move until he had passed. Theodoric couldn't blame them, nor the ship's command, for not keeping his identity secret. It no longer mattered if they now knew the face behind the voice, for his path was about to end. Everything that came after that was just a bonus, a life of ease after the 30-odd years he had sacrificed to the